Uh, Hopefully we can continue those conversations later after the service. So, good morning and welcome to Auckland Bible Church. My name is Sam, and if you don't know me, I couldn't think of a better quip than Liam got. Today I'll be walking us through the start of Amos, and over the next couple months, we'll be going through Amos in a series called Accountability and Hope. And also my dad's doing some more on it later. Amos was the first of the 12 minor prophets. Now, the minor prophets were not less valuable. They just had a lot less to say. So, for example, Amos has 9 chapters, and he talks about, accountability and hope, whereas Isaiah had 66 and covered all sorts of topics, and you can't finish it in an evening. But it's still a good book. So to fully understand the book of Amos, we need to understand who is Amos and why God is sending him. Sorry, I just lost my place. God gave Amos a message and a passion, or burden, as his name means, of concerning justice, kindness, and faithfulness to God. He puts it, where's my clicker? There it is. He puts it this way at the start of his book: the words of Amos, one of the shepherds of Tekoa, the vision he saw concerning Israel. Now, Tekoa was a place 32 kilometers south of Bethel. And in Chronicles 2, chapter 20, it's described as a place surrounded by wilderness and just nothingness. And there's no trade or transport routes going through it. So it was a relatively poor town. Now, Amos didn't think of himself as a professional prophet. It was more of a title given to him. He puts it this way in Amos chapter 7. Yes, chapter 7, verse 14. I was neither a prophet nor the son of a prophet, but I was a shepherd, and I also took care of sycamore fig trees. But the Lord took me from tending the flock and said to me, go prophesy to my people Israel. And also, here's the map for reference. Now, Amos was a contemporary number of prophets like Isaiah, Jonah, Micah, and Amos could have heard or even have met these prophets, but Amos saw himself as a messenger chosen among the poor to speak God's message from the cruelty that Israel had put upon him. And he was a shepherd. Back in those days, being a shepherd meant you were ceremonially unclean. So you weren't allowed to worship with everyone else. You would have been shunned away by the priestly and powerful classes, which was just cruel. And clearly, being a shepherd still didn't pay enough, so he had to get a second job. Now, you don't get a second job because you just have the spare time for it, but he did his iconic tending to sycamore figs. Sycamore figs were a fruit in ancient Israel that were mainly eaten by the poor who couldn't afford much more. So Amos was an ordinary worker of the land, probably poor, relatable to the majority of people who also worked the land, an ordinary man to whom God gave his vision and called him up from his ordinary life to prophesy to God's people, Israel. Now, let's consider why God was sending him. The prophetic message that God had burdened Amos with was a coming of judgment for the people, for the things that Israel had done. And so the first king of the northern kingdom, Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had built a golden calf for the people in Bethel to worship, and he even claimed it led them out of Egypt, and, well, God wasn't too happy because he takes this sort of stuff personally. What Jeroboam had done was mingle the worship of this golden calf with the worship of God. And this is a sin called syncretism, and it was quite popular in ancient times. It totally disconnected the people from God. The rest of the first two verses. When Uzziah was king of Judah and Jeroboam, son of Joash, was king of Israel, he said, "The Lord roars from Zion and thunders from Jerusalem. The pastures of the shepherds dry up, and the top of Carmel withers." I mean, there's one way to start a book, and that just got me hooked. At the time Amos went to Bethel, the two nations were at their peak. Israel and Judah, that is. Their main enemies, Syria and Egypt, were too preoccupied with whatever for them to even be a thought. There were trade routes going through the two countries, and it was a great time of wealth. It was the golden era of Israel. But it was only the best of times for the few with power, status, money, and pride. It was only the best of times with few with power, status, and money. For the poor workers, for the righteous, it was the opposite. Those with power, status, and money would treat their fellow Israelites with injustice, cruelty, and selfish pride. This explains why God chose Amos. He could have chosen any professional prophet that was available at the time, like Jonah, Micah, Isaiah, or some other prophet. But the time for professional prophets was over. It was time to serve notice. Who better to do it than a representative of the oppressed? As Paul puts it, 600 years late to the party, but God chooses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chooses the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chooses the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before him. I just feel like this passage sums up Amos perfectly because he is the oppressed. So Amos not only had a prophetic message, if Israel cared to look, he was part of the message itself. He was here to bring a message in 9 chapters to call Israel accountable for the injustice, cruelty, and rejectance of God. My challenge to you this morning is this. Is God calling you to serve? Are you holding back because you're just an ordinary person? You don't feel trained or qualified? Look for opportunities to serve him. God chooses ordinary people to carry out his purposes. God sends Amos. Welcome to the book of Amos.